All right, so as promised, I'm just going to kind of go through my presentation here that I created with those images that I was telling you about in my other video of Buchenwald and Dachau. These are both death camps, and I gave, um, credit. We have Alexander Bartoli. This is Tori and Desi, their brother-in-law. He went with their sister to Europe on their honeymoon, and they happened to stop at Buchenwald, and he was nice enough to share these images with me. So I wanted to share them with all of you. And then Jessica Valenzuela is one of my best friends who went to Dachau camp 2 years ago when she happened to go to Europe for a vacation. So she shared those with me, and I wanted to share them with you all as well. All right, so this first one is, and the first few here are of Buchenwald, and these were the former barracks for the troops who were there and in charge of the camps. I want you to notice their size. I want you to notice that they have windows and they have a roof, and definitely it looks like there's going to be space. They're going to have probably their own room and nice bathroom facilities. Definitely going to be a stark difference from what the prisoners at Buchenwald are going to have to live with on a day-to-day basis and what they're going to have to deal with. So definitely different there. This is, if we go back, this right here, you could see like the stairs going in and there's like an opening. This is just zoomed in of that. So there's definitely something down below. I'm not quite sure what it is, a cellar of some sort, or like into a basement of it. But this is, of course, the entrance for the troops into the barracks. This is the entrance of Buchenwald, and this is the main gate. And here is this. I have no idea how to say it, but in English, it means to each his own. All right, so this is Desi and Tori's sister, Mackenzie. She is actually standing outside of one of the crematorium buildings. So at Buchenwald, what you would see is obviously you have this chimney here, and you would have pretty much 24/7. There would have been smoke coming out of the top of that chimney and the smell of burning flesh, and it would have been permeating the camp, and it would have been an awful smell for people to have to smell on a daily basis. All right, and so this is just an image. They must have had like a poster or a picture hanging up at Buchenwald, but this is, I'm going to kind of zoom in here with my phone. You can see these are people. You guys, these are dead bodies. And so these dead bodies would have been, they're of course naked. They have been shaved. This would have been what happened after they were in the gas chamber and they were here. And this is kind of the in between being taken out of the gas chamber and going into the crematorium to be burned. All right, so this indeed is, you can see some tourists in there, but this is the crematorium. These are those ovens that people would be just reaching down and grabbing off of like a cart and shoving the dead remains of people into those ovens to be burned. Once they're filled, they would empty the ashes and whatever bone fragments out, and they would continue with more bodies and just continue filling it up. All right, and here again is just another image of those ovens. You can see that they're still there at Buchenwald. This is what they look like today, you guys. So it's just very powerful. Again, a lot of the times at camps, they did try to destroy as much as they could, but obviously this is still what it looked like. I mean, this is definitely, they've obviously cleaned it up because there would have been a lot of like dirt and stuff, but other than it being cleaned up, this is how it was when the Nazis left Buchenwald. Okay, and so just another, you can see the fire, where they would burn them. Okay, this is what they found when they came. You can see there are definitely body parts inside of those when the camp was liberated. All right, and this is a sink of some sort. I'm not honestly quite sure what that is of, but it is from the camp. This is inside of a gas chamber. Okay, notice there's the piping at the top. You've got piping and things here. And it's a very just, it's a cement floor. There are some drains so they can go in and they can hose. Once it's all finished, they can hose it on down and clean it out before the next group of people come in. Again, this is a gas chamber. You can see they're going to pack this full. You've got people that would go all over and it would definitely fill up this entire chamber. This here, it's like a brown thing in the back. This is actually like a chute where the bodies, like a kind of an elevator shaft where they would be able to kind of take the bodies and send it somewhere else. All right, so this is, you're probably like, well, this is where you're going to see how tall someone is. You would be right. But that's only part of what this was. So they would go in and it's kind of like a place where they would get your height and your weight, but you can't tell from this image. And when you're a person who is standing on top of like this scale, who's about to get your weight taken and then your height measured, you don't know that on the other side of this wall, there is a small room and someone is in that small room and they're going to shoot you. And sometimes they would not only shoot you, but they would there was like a little hole and they would put like a pipe or like a rod through that hole and like impale you in the back of the head and like stick that through your head in some camps. So yeah, just another horrible thing that happened at these camps. All right, and so this is kind of, I think, the elevator in one of the gas chambers that they could put some bodies in and it would go like kind of a shaft, elevator shaft to take them to that crematorium room. All right, so here's that chute where I said the dead bodies would be sent down. They would actually go down in this area to the ovens where they would burn the bodies. All right, so it's kind of hard to see, but you can see definitely there is like a big rectangle remains and there's a lot of them. Here you can see there were like steps going in at one time, but you can see a lot of like just rectangles. Those were the outsides of the former like barracks and the buildings and the storehouses where they would keep all the uniforms and where anything that the prisoners had on them, like, the clothing, all of that, and, where their bathrooms were, all of that this is like the base of those buildings there. And this is still, all of these I've showed you still at Buchenwald. All right, so this is their brother-in-law, Alex there, and behind him is a former guard tower. And you can see here, you've got like poles here where they'd have like barbed wire along it so people couldn't escape into the woods to the side of it. I'm not quite sure what this is. It's something inside of the museum. I don't really know what that is. These are just some of the clothing and the uniforms that the prisoners had to wear. You can see some hats, some shoes, different types of shoes here, and the clothing that they would have to wear. Obviously, it's not going to be very warm, especially in the winter time. This is looking from inside outside. So this is a guardhouse where they would be looking out the window and they could be seeing the camp and being able to monitor the prisoners outside and make sure no one's escaping. You can obviously see the barbed wire fence there as well, still is there. And this here is a cart that they would use to transport the dead bodies from the gas chamber, and they would, if they don't bring them like down a chute or to the chute, they would also have to take them on a cart like this. And so that's kind of what they would use. They would have just dead naked bodies on there and taking them to their final place. All right, so this is the beginning of the other camp, Dachau. Now, Dachau is also a death camp. And this here you can see again, so they really don't have much of the prisoner barracks for either of these camps there anymore. But you can see the brick remains and their rectangles as well of where the barracks used to be. This is just a sculpture at Dachau. I thought was kind of a pretty cool sculpture, and so did she. That's why she took a picture of it to send to me. All right, so at Dachau, this is what their crematorium looked like. Now, Dachau was a smaller camp, a little bit smaller camp than Buchenwald was, and Dachau is in Germany. Buchenwald is going to be in Poland. And I think, now I'm second guessing myself, but either way, Germany or Poland, they're a little distance away from each other. They're not close to each other, but you can see again the chimney where the remains, the smoke. Here are the ovens here where they would burn the bodies at the crematorium. So they do definitely look very similar. There are, it looks like not as many ovens here. This is the gas chamber at Dachau. I would say that this gas chamber looks a little nicer. I don't know if you really want a gas chamber to look nice, but this is a little nicer one. It's got more of like a tile, a brick floor inside, and the same with the walls. But again, it's easy to be able to hose down for any bodily fluids or, whatever. And they have the drain in the center. So they would use that. This at Dachau was the entrance. So it's a big, heavy steel door. They would, cram the people inside, and then they would shut that door. They would lock the people in. The lights would turn off, and then they would let the gas, whatever it was, whether it was Zyklon B or whatever, they would release that into the air and people would die. So you can see here kind of, if you walked right into that door, here is that door that's open. So if you walk in here, you can kind of see, oh no, what did I do? Sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to go back through. Oh man. Sorry, hang on, bear with me. What did I do? I hit something. Okay, so again, there's the door. So you walk into the door and you go like to the back corner of that gas chamber. This would be like taking a picture so you can like see, just to see. She went in so you could actually like see exactly like the vastness of the gas chamber. Like it was definitely a good size. And I asked her, I'm like, I can't believe you went inside. And she said she did. And she said it, I remember when she was telling me about it and she was describing it to me, she said it was so eerie. And, there people go here. It's, it's a tourist destination, a place where you can go, kind of a museum type of a thing. But she said it was definitely eerie. And you have all these tourists here, and she had explained to me that people, like, they're talking, but they're whispering. It's a very somber place. Going into the gas chamber was so eerie, she said. It was just like, this uncomfortable feeling. She knew she wasn't going to die walking into it, but just to walk in knowing that thousands, hundreds of thousands of people walked into that, but then never walked out, she said was just so powerful. And just looking at it gives me kind of chills. So this is that crematorium building just from another angle. Again, still at Dachau. Just looking at other, crematoria, the ovens here that they would burn the bodies in. They did have a couple barracks that were left at Dachau, and they have kind of, they have the beds here because they wanted people to be able to see what they slept on. So you have little narrow ladders here, and there are no mattresses. There were no mattresses for them as well. There are wooden benches around, but like it's not going to be anything comfortable. It is a wood floor, wood bunks, and they cram as many people as possible into this. It is not nice. These are, you guys, the toilets. This is the bathroom for Dachau. Notice there are no stalls. Those have not been removed. They just never existed. So you can see how close these toilets are to each other. That's like part of the Holocaust. They took their identity away by giving, tattooing their forearms with numbers. They took their dignity away by shaving them and starving them and treating them this way. And this is just yet another of the many ways that the dignity and just any sense of being a human was tried to be stripped away from these people who were prisoners in these camps. It was absolutely horrible. These were the sinks that they had to use to wash their hands or get cleaned up in any way. So that is it. I just wanted to share some of those pictures with you all of what the camps look like today. I find it interesting to see what those camps look like, and I figured you all would as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed being able to check out these images.